They wanted the throne. She chose to save her children instead. Each vessel was larger than any human craft, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire cities in minutes. The ground beneath her seemed to shake with the power of their presence, and for a moment she felt the weight of history pressing down on her. Humanity had always been underestimated, seen as fragile and small in a galaxy of giants, but she refused to bow. Not now, not ever. "Your Majesty, they are demanding immediate surrender," said Commander Riven, his voice tight with concern. The older man who had served her family for decades tried to mask his fear, but it slipped through in the smallest way. "They will not wait for negotiations. They will strike if we hesitate." Alara did not flinch. She turned from the balcony, her long hair brushing her shoulders, and looked at the council gathered before her. The advisors, diplomats, and generals all wore faces of worry. Some whispered to one another, others stared openly at her, waiting for guidance. She knew what they were thinking. Humans could not fight this fleet. No human could. The aliens had power, technology, and experience that dwarfed anything on Virlia, but Alara was not just any ruler. She was a mother, and the lives of her children, Kale and Leora, were more important than any throne. The palace halls echoed with the laughter of the two children earlier that morning, unaware of the storm that had come so suddenly over their world. She could not allow them to become pawns in a war they did not understand. "We will not surrender," she said, her voice steady, though her mind raced. "Not the planet, not our people, and certainly not our children." The council shifted uncomfortably. Some nodded, showing respect, while others frowned, worried about the cost of her decision. Commander Riven stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Your Majesty, if we fight, we will be destroyed. You know it. The aliens, Zitrax and his coalition, will not show mercy. We could lose everything. Perhaps," he hesitated, swallowing his words, "perhaps we should consider the throne before the lives of the innocent." Alara's eyes narrowed. "I will not be remembered as a queen who chose a chair over her children's lives." Humanity is not defined by thrones or crowns. It is defined by courage, by choices, and by the protection of what is sacred. That includes our future. That includes them. She glanced toward the children's wing of the palace, imagining their faces. Kale, brave and curious, always asking questions about the stars. Leora, gentle and clever, already showing signs of understanding the world in ways that amazed even her tutors. They were the future she had sworn to protect. The alien fleet's shadows stretched across the city, a dark promise of destruction. Zitrax, the warlord of the coalition, had personally taken an interest in her throne. His messages had been clear: surrender or face obliteration. But Alara had also learned something from her spies. Zitrax's true goal was not the throne itself. It was the children. They saw the next generation of humans as tools for their war machines, to be enslaved and used to fuel their empire. This revelation had hardened her resolve. Alara called a private meeting with her closest advisors. Maps of the city and surrounding territories lit the room in soft holographic blue. Her finger traced paths and escape routes. "We will create diversions," she said. "We will show them we fight for the throne, but our real priority is the children. They must be evacuated secretly. If we can save them, humanity will survive. If we fight for the throne alone, we will die with it." There were murmurs of doubt. "Your Majesty, how can we protect them while defending the city?" one advisor asked. "The aliens are too strong, we are too weak." Alara looked at them without blinking. "Humanity is not weak. We are underestimated. That is our advantage. They think they can predict us, control us, crush us. But they do not know what we are capable of when we fight for something sacred. For life, for family. That is our strength." As the council dispersed to prepare their forces, Alara walked through the palace corridors toward the children's wing. The air smelled of polished floors and fresh flowers, the normalcy a sharp contrast to the chaos outside. Kale and Leora were playing with small mechanical toys, pretending to pilot ships that no human had yet built. Their laughter filled the hall, and for a moment she allowed herself to smile. "Mother," Kale said, looking up, "will the aliens come here? Will they take us?" Alara knelt beside him, her eyes gentle but firm. "No, my brave one, we will protect you, that is my promise." She placed her hand over his and then Leora's, holding them both close. "You are my future and nothing will harm you, not while I live." The first attack came at dusk. Alien drones swarmed the city, striking military outposts and power stations. Explosions rocked the streets, and the sky lit with streaks of blue energy. Humans fought back with what they had: lasers, plasma cannons, and improvised traps. The aliens expected panic, but what they saw instead was organized resistance. Citizens joined the fight, hiding in strategic positions, striking when the enemy least expected. Alara oversaw the defense from a command room beneath the palace, directing forces, sending signals, and coordinating evacuations. Every moment counted. Every choice could mean life or death. She saw one of her generals hesitate under fire and shouted through the comlink, "Do not falter. Humanity does not give up." Meanwhile, the children's evacuation had begun in secret. A hidden fleet of small ships, disguised as transport vessels, waited outside the city. Only a few trusted aides knew their location. Alara had personally inspected each ship, ensuring they could survive long-distance travel and evade alien sensors. Her heart ached to leave the city, but she knew it was the only way. Kale and Leora's survival was worth more than any throne, more than any glory. Zitrax watched from his command ship, his multi-eyed visage cold and calculating. He could not understand why humans did not collapse under his power. "They are weaker than they appear," he said to his lieutenants. "Yet they resist. They will learn that resistance is futile." But resistance was exactly what Alara counted on. Humans had survived impossible odds before. On distant colonies, on harsh worlds, against natural disasters and political enemies, humans had endured. And now, with their children at the center of her strategy, she channeled that survival instinct into something greater, a plan that relied not on technology alone, but on ingenuity, unpredictability, and the raw force of human will. The battle raged through the night. The city burned, and the sound of energy blasts shook the walls of the palace. Alara coordinated her forces with calm precision, while secretly sending her children away. Kale and Leora, unaware of the full danger, clutched their small backpacks tightly, trusting their mother's words. At one point, a missile struck near the evacuation hangar. Alarms blared and smoke filled the air. Alara raced through the corridors, reaching the hangar just in time to see one of the ships ignited by a stray energy beam. With a commanding shout, she directed her aides to reroute the children to another vessel, using a maze of tunnels and secret lifts. Every second mattered, and every human involved risked their life to protect the future. As dawn approached, the first of the children's ships lifted off, slipping past the alien fleet under cover of darkness and human ingenuity. Alara watched from the balcony, her heart pounding. She knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would not stop, and the city would suffer, but the children were safe. Humanity's hope had survived the first night of war. Zitrax's fleet had been slowed by unexpected resistance and clever human tactics, but he was not defeated. He roared in frustration, seeing the humans' determination. "They fight like animals," he hissed, "but animals with hearts. This is dangerous." Alara stood tall, feeling the weight of the battle settle on her shoulders. The throne was still under threat, the city still at risk, but she had made her choice. She would not sacrifice the future of humanity for a title. She would protect her children, and through them, the strength of her people. As the sun rose over a battered but unbroken city, Alara felt something that no enemy could destroy: hope. Humans were underestimated, yes, but in that underestimation lay their power. They fought not just with weapons but with heart, with intelligence, and with the unyielding will to survive. Her children were safe. That was victory enough for now. The war for the throne would come, but Alara had already won the most important battle. She had preserved the future of humanity. And in doing so, she had reminded the galaxy that humans were not weak, that they were not to be taken lightly, and that the heart of a mother could inspire courage stronger than any army. The first night of war was over, but the war itself was only beginning. Alara knew she would face impossible choices, unimaginable dangers, and enemies more cunning than any she had faced before. Yet she also knew something else. Humans endure, humans fight, and humans survive. And as long as her children lived, humanity's spark would never be extinguished. For now, she allowed herself a moment to breathe, to watch the city's resilient citizens rising from the rubble to aid their neighbors. She thought of Kale and Leora flying safely among the stars, and she felt a fierce pride. The aliens might want the throne, but she had chosen something far more valuable, the survival of the next generation. Alara turned back toward the palace, her eyes hard and determined. The war was far from over, but humanity had already proven something important. The future belonged to those who protected it, and no alien could ever take that away. The hidden fleet of small human ships glided silently through the darkness of space. Kale and Leora sat in their cabin, clutching the edges of their seats as the engines hummed beneath them. Neither child fully understood the danger they had narrowly escaped, but they felt the tension in the air, the way the crew moved with quiet urgency. Their mother's words echoed in their minds. "We will protect you. That is my promise." Alara had entrusted their safety to a group of human pilots and engineers who had volunteered for this mission. They were not soldiers of the throne. They were ordinary humans, clever, determined, and brave. They moved like shadows, avoiding alien sensors and patrols, using every trick Alara had devised. The humans had learned the art of survival over centuries, and now their skills were being tested in the vast, unforgiving reaches of space. Back on Virlia, the city still burned. The alien fleet, Zitrax's forces, had not paused. They struck with precision, targeting power grids, supply depots, and military outposts. Explosions lit the night, and the ground trembled as buildings collapsed. Yet, despite the devastation, humans continued to fight. Civilians armed themselves with whatever they could find, creating barricades, launching small attacks, and most importantly, refusing to surrender. Alara moved through the palace command center, issuing orders with calm authority. She had split the city's defenders into small, mobile units, making them unpredictable and difficult to target. The aliens had expected a single, centralized force, a palace guard that could be crushed with overwhelming firepower. Instead, they found resistance everywhere, in alleyways, on rooftops, and in abandoned buildings where humans had set up hidden defenses. Every time the aliens thought they had the upper hand, the humans had already moved, striking from a new direction. "Commander Riven," Alara said, pointing at a hollow map of the city, "the eastern sector is under heavy assault. We must reinforce it without leaving the evacuation route exposed. Split your forces. Keep them guessing." Riven nodded, but the concern on his face was still clear. "Your Majesty, the aliens are relentless. They will detect the children's fleet if we divert too many forces." Alara's gaze hardened. "Then we use misdirection. Make them believe we are desperate to protect the throne. Let them think the children are irrelevant. Their arrogance will be their weakness." Meanwhile, Kale and Leora's ship approached a dense asteroid field, a natural barrier that shielded them from the alien fleet's sensors. The pilot, a woman named Sira, guided the vessel with skill born from years of experience in dangerous space missions. She smiled at the children, trying to ease their fear. "Almost there," she said. "Just a little further and you'll be safe." Kale looked out the window at the asteroids tumbling through space. "Will Mother be okay?" he asked quietly. "She will be fine," Sira replied firmly. "Your mother is clever. She always finds a way. She loves you more than anything, and that gives her strength." Leora squeezed her brother's hand. "I hope we can help her someday." The first obstacle came sooner than expected. A small alien scout ship appeared, scanning the asteroid field. Sira's hands tightened on the controls. "Stay calm. I've got this." With careful maneuvers, she guided their ship behind a massive rock, using it as cover while she initiated an electronic signal jammer. The alien vessel scanned repeatedly but eventually passed, unaware of the human fleet slipping past its sensors. Back on Virlia, the battle had reached the palace gates. Zitrax himself had descended in a massive assault vehicle, bringing with him an elite squad of warriors. They moved with terrifying precision, expecting to meet a weak, frightened human defense. What they found instead was a coordinated network of traps, barricades, and guerrilla fighters striking from unexpected angles. Alara moved among her troops, directing them where she was needed most. She was not a distant commander. She fought alongside her people, using her knowledge of the palace and city streets to create choke points and ambushes. Each move frustrated Zitrax's soldiers, who had never encountered humans who could adapt so quickly to impossible situations. One of her generals approached her urgently. "Your Majesty, the eastern sector is falling. We risk losing the supply lines." Alara did not hesitate. "Then we make it a trap. Draw them in with what they expect and then cut them off." Human ingenuity is not a weapon they understand. The humans executed the plan with precision. They used decoy energy signals to lure alien units into narrow corridors filled with explosive charges and automated defense drones. When the aliens advanced, they were met with sudden, overwhelming counterattacks that left many retreating or destroyed. Every small victory inspired the defenders, who began to realize that they could outsmart even the most powerful enemies. Meanwhile, Kale and Leora's fleet reached a hidden human colony on a distant moon. It was a settlement designed to be self-sufficient, with food supplies, medical facilities, and defensive measures. The children stepped onto solid ground for the first time in days, their hearts pounding from the tension of the escape. They were met by friendly faces, humans who had prepared for this moment, ready to provide safety, care, and education for the next generation of humanity. Alara, still fighting on Virlia, received reports of their arrival. Relief washed over her, but she could not linger. The battle was far from over. She sent a secure message to the colony: "Children safe, protect them. Humanity survives through them." The aliens, growing frustrated at their inability to crush the humans, escalated their tactics. Zitrax ordered orbital bombardments and deployed more elite units, hoping to break morale and force surrender. The palace shook under repeated strikes, and fires spread through parts of the city. Civilians fled, soldiers regrouped, and chaos threatened to overtake even the most organized defenses. Yet humanity refused to break. Small teams of fighters used tunnels, hidden passages, and improvised vehicles to strike back. They disabled alien equipment, ambushed patrols, and recovered vital supplies. Every human victory, no matter how small, strengthened the resolve of others. Alara watched it all from the command center, coordinating moves and communicating with her generals. She knew that winning the war outright was impossible. Her forces were too small and the aliens too powerful. But survival was possible. Delaying tactics, clever strategies, and protecting the future of humanity mattered more than the throne. At one point, Zitrax himself attempted a direct attack on the palace command center. He believed that eliminating Alara would end all resistance. He arrived with a squad of heavily armored warriors, confident in their victory. But the humans had anticipated this. Automated defenses, trap corridors, and human fighters hidden in shadows turned the assault into a nightmare for the invaders. Alara, donning light armor, moved to the front lines of the command center's defense. She was not alone. Other human leaders fought beside her, showing courage that no alien technology could replicate. The battle raged, energy blasts and explosions filling the air. Zitrax's warriors fell one by one to cunning strategies and human determination. During the chaos, one of Zitrax's lieutenants attempted to breach the inner sanctum where Alara directed operations. A group of human defenders intercepted them, using agility and quick thinking to disable the advanced alien weapons. Every loss they inflicted on the aliens inspired others, creating a ripple of courage that spread through the city's defenders. Hours passed. The battle wore on and fatigue threatened to slow the humans, but they endured. Civilians joined wherever possible, assisting with supplies, evacuating the wounded and setting traps. The aliens were powerful, but they were rigid. Humans were unpredictable, flexible, and relentless when their families and future were at stake. By dawn, the city had been damaged but remained in human hands. The alien fleet had not achieved its objectives, unable to find the hidden evacuation route or fully crush resistance. Small ships, carrying Alara's children and other survivors, were safely distant, hidden among asteroid fields and uncharted sectors. Humanity had survived another night against impossible odds. Alara stood on a rooftop overlooking the city as the first rays of sunlight pierced the smoke and debris. Her body ached, her armor scorched, and her hands trembled slightly from exhaustion, yet her spirit remained unbroken. Humanity had been underestimated, but that underestimation had been their strength. They had used it, cunning and courage, to protect what mattered most. A messenger approached her, panting. "Your Majesty, the alien forces are regrouping. Zitrax is furious. He plans to strike again, but they do not know our children have escaped. Their arrogance may be their downfall." Alara nodded. "Let them come. We will fight. We will survive. And when the time comes, we will show them what humans are truly capable of." She turned to look at the city, at the people still emerging from the shadows to help one another. Every life saved, every act of courage, was proof that humanity could endure anything. It was not the throne that mattered, but the survival of the species, the protection of the next generation. Her children, her people, her future, they were the true prize. The day had been won, but the war continued. Zitrax would return, stronger and more ruthless. The throne might be taken, the city might fall, but as long as humans endured, there was hope. And that hope lived in Kale and Leora, safe among the stars, carrying with them the promise of a future that no alien could destroy. Alara allowed herself a brief smile. The battle had been long and terrifying, but the first victory was theirs. Humanity had survived the night, and through ingenuity, courage, and unyielding determination, they would continue to survive. They had been underestimated, but the galaxy would soon learn that humans were not weak, not fragile, and never to be taken lightly. And as long as humans lived, the spark of defiance, of hope, and of survival would burn brighter than any alien weapon. The alien fleet had retreated, but only temporarily. Zitrax was not a commander to accept defeat lightly. From his flagship, he observed the burning city of Vierlia, his multiple eyes narrowing in fury. He had underestimated humans, and the realization stung. Their defiance was not mere stubbornness, it was strategy, cunning, and courage. He would need a new plan to crush them completely. Alara, however, was already preparing. The first night of battle had revealed the weaknesses of the alien forces, and she intended to use that knowledge to humanity's advantage. She gathered her surviving generals and key advisors in the palace command center, her voice calm but filled with determination. "We survived the first wave," she began. "That was only possible because we fought smart, not just hard. The aliens are powerful, yes, but they are predictable. They rely on strength and fear, while humans have ingenuity, courage, and the will to survive. That will be our weapon." Her generals nodded, some still in disbelief that they had survived the first attack. "What is our next move, Your Majesty?" asked one. Alara gestured to a holographic map of the city and surrounding orbital sectors. "We strike where they are weakest. Their ships are fast and powerful, but their formations are rigid. They cannot adapt quickly. We will use mobility, deception, and technology they cannot predict. We will make them fear humans, not just respect them." Meanwhile, Kale and Leora, safe on the hidden colony moon, began to understand the importance of their survival. The children were not powerless observers. They were symbols of humanity's future. Scientists, pilots, and educators from the colony welcomed them warmly, explaining that their protection ensured the continuation of human knowledge, culture, and courage. Kale's eyes sparkled with determination. "If the aliens want to hurt humans, we can't just hide. We have to help somehow." Leora nodded. "Mother said we survive for a reason. We'll do our part when the time comes." Back on Virlia, the humans were preparing for the next phase. The city had been damaged, but it was still standing. Civilians helped rebuild defenses, engineers repaired damaged systems, and scouts reported alien movements. Every small victory gave the people hope, and hope was a dangerous thing for Zitrax. It could fuel human resistance beyond his expectations. Alara moved quickly to coordinate a counterattack. Small, highly mobile teams were dispatched to strike at supply lines and communication hubs of the alien forces. They used human ingenuity to create distractions, false signals, and decoy fleets. The aliens were forced to respond to threats that were not real, stretching their forces thin and leaving gaps for humans to exploit. One team, led by Commander Riven, targeted a major alien supply depot. Using improvised explosives and precise maneuvers, they disabled the facility, cutting off fuel and supplies to several warships. The aliens had relied on overwhelming logistics, but humans had turned their system into a vulnerability. Alara herself did not remain behind. She led a small strike team through the city to reclaim a strategic communications tower that had been captured by alien forces. The streets were scarred with the aftermath of the previous night's battle, but humans moved with determination, striking quickly and retreating before the aliens could organize. Zitrax, frustrated at these small but effective attacks, decided to escalate. He deployed elite units to hunt down Alara and crush the remaining resistance. He believed that if the Queen were eliminated, human morale would collapse. Yet, he still underestimated her. Alara had anticipated this move, setting traps and ambush points in advance. As the elite alien units moved through the streets, they were met with sudden counterattacks. Energy nets, collapsing walls, and hidden drones disabled many of their weapons. Human fighters, skilled in improvisation, struck from unexpected angles, taking down superior technology with clever tactics. Every victory, however small, was a message. Humans would not be controlled, humans would not bow. Alara reached the communications tower just as Zitrax's forces tried to breach it. She coordinated the defense, using every available resource, automated turrets, barricades, and human ingenuity. The alien attackers were forced back, sustaining heavy losses. Amidst the battle, Alara received a secure message from the hidden colony where Kale and Leora were safe. They had begun basic tactical training, learning skills that would one day serve humanity's survival. Though she could not leave the battlefield, knowing her children were learning, growing, and protected gave her renewed strength. The humans were not fighting for a throne anymore. They were fighting for their survival, their future, and for the next generation. That focus made them more dangerous than Zitrax had anticipated. Every human victory, every clever maneuver, struck fear into the hearts of the alien forces. They had expected weak resistance, but they faced a people willing to endure, adapt, and fight with unwavering determination. Alara devised a bold plan. Using a combination of decoy fleets, hidden weapons caches, and coordinated strikes. She aimed to trap a significant portion of Zitrax's fleet in a narrow asteroid corridor. The aliens' power would be wasted in the confined space, while humans could attack from multiple angles, exploiting their mobility and knowledge of the terrain. The operation began at night. Human ships moved silently through space, undetected by the aliens. They lured Zitrax's warships into the asteroid field using false energy signatures. The alien fleet, overconfident and expecting an easy fight, followed without hesitation. Once the enemy was inside the corridor, humans struck. Automated mines exploded, disabling key engines and weapons. Small strike teams attacked from hidden angles, targeting weak points in the alien vessels. Chaos erupted in the alien formation, and their rigid command structure began to falter. Ilara watched the progress from the palace command center, her heart pounding. This was more than a battle. It was a demonstration of what humans could do when underestimated. The aliens' superior firepower meant little when faced with ingenuity, adaptability, and relentless determination. As the battle reached its climax, Zitrax attempted to intervene personally. His flagship moved into the corridor to rally his forces and restore order. But humans had prepared for this. Precision strikes disabled the flagship's engines, leaving it vulnerable. Automated turrets, hidden on asteroid surfaces, fired relentlessly. Zitrax's elite forces were forced to retreat or face destruction. For the first time, humans were not just defending. They were taking the fight to the enemy. Their resourcefulness and courage allowed them to inflict significant damage, turning a desperate survival mission into a tactical victory. Back on the hidden colony, Kale and Leora were following the battle through secure channels. Though they were far from the fight, they could see the resilience of humanity displayed in real time. They learned that survival required intelligence, courage, and teamwork. And they began to understand why their mother had chosen to save them above all else. They were the living proof that the future could not be sacrificed for a throne. After the battle, Ilara addressed her people over secure communications. Today, humanity has shown that we are not weak. We are not fragile. Our enemies underestimated us, and that will be their greatest mistake. We fight not for crowns, not for power, but for our future, for our children, and for the survival of our species. We endure, we adapt, and we survive. That is the power of humans. Her words resonated across Vyrlia and into the hidden colonies where humans had fled. The message was clear. Humans could not be defeated through fear, intimidation, or superior technology alone. Their strength lay in heart, mind, and the unyielding will to survive. Zitrax, observing the human counterattack, was forced to acknowledge the reality. These humans were dangerous in ways he had not anticipated. They fought not for glory or power, but for life, for family, and for the future. That made them unpredictable, and unpredictability was deadly in warfare. Ilara knew this battle was only part of a larger war. Zitrax would return, more ruthless, more prepared, and likely more determined. But humans had learned something crucial. Their courage, ingenuity, and willingness to protect what mattered most made them stronger than any alien fleet. They had turned desperation into advantage, weakness into strength. The city of Vyrlia bore scars of the battles fought. Buildings were damaged, streets were torn, and fires still burned in pockets. Yet humanity had survived. Civilians emerged to help rebuild, engineers repaired essential systems, and soldiers prepared for the next phase. Every person played a part, proving that survival was a collective effort, strengthened by cooperation and courage. Ilara returned to her chambers for a brief moment, exhausted but unbroken. She thought of Kale and Leora, safe among the stars, and felt a deep sense of pride. The throne could wait. The war could wait. But the children, humanity's future, would endure because she had chosen to protect them. As night fell on Vyrlia, she looked out over the city, her resolve hardening. The battle was far from over, but humans had proven themselves. They had survived against impossible odds, fought with courage and intelligence, and struck fear into the heart of their enemies. They had turned the tide in their favor, if only slightly, and demonstrated that the human spirit was a force no alien could easily conquer. Alara knew the next battle would be even more challenging. Zitrax would return with vengeance, expecting humans to crumble under pressure. But humans had learned a valuable lesson. The fight was not about power or thrones. It was about survival, ingenuity, and protecting the next generation. And as long as they remembered that, humanity would endure, no matter the odds. The spark of defiance, the strength of the human will, and the promise of the next generation burned brighter than any alien weapon. Alara smiled briefly, knowing that her choice had been the right one. They had survived the impossible before, and they would survive again. Humanity would endure, and one day, the galaxy would learn to fear and respect them not for their technology alone, but for their courage, ingenuity, and unbreakable spirit. The alien fleet loomed once again over Violia, larger and more organized than ever. Zitrax had returned with reinforcements, determined to crush humanity entirely. From orbit, his warships created an intimidating wall of power, casting shadows over the damaged city below. The humans had survived the first assaults, but this was the ultimate test. Alara stood on the balcony of the palace, looking at the sky filled with alien warships. Her hands clenched at her sides, her mind focused. This was no longer about defending the city alone. It was about protecting the future of humanity, the children who had survived, and the legacy that could not be allowed to perish. She turned to Commander Riven. "Today, we do not fight for a throne. Today, we fight for the future. Every human who stands with us is part of that future. They underestimate us because they see only what we have now. They cannot see what we are capable of when our families, our children, and our future are at stake." Riven nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "Then let's make them see, Your Majesty. Let's show them that humanity is not weak." Alara had spent the previous days coordinating with her generals, engineers, and civilians. Hidden weapons, improvised drones, and human ingenuity had been prepared for this moment. Decoy fleets moved through space, electronic signals created false targets, and the civilians had fortified strategic positions across the city. Every move was calculated to exploit the aliens' reliance on brute force and rigid tactics. Meanwhile, Kale and Leora, safe on the hidden colony moon, watched secure transmissions of the battle. They had begun learning basic tactics, survival skills, and the importance of courage in impossible situations. Though far from the fight, they understood that their survival represented humanity's hope. Every human life that endured, every act of bravery, added to that hope. The first wave of alien forces descended toward the city. Zitrax believed he could overwhelm the humans with sheer numbers, but as his ships approached, they encountered unexpected resistance. Automated drones fired from hidden positions, while human fighters struck from angles that the aliens could not anticipate. The battle was no longer about defending. It was about taking the fight to the enemy in calculated strikes that forced confusion and hesitation. Alara moved among the defenders, coordinating attacks, directing reinforcements, and reinforcing morale. She led by example, showing that leadership was more than issuing orders. It was about standing with the people and demonstrating courage. Her presence inspired soldiers, civilians, and engineers alike. They fought not for personal glory, but for survival and for each other. The humans executed a bold plan. Using asteroid fields and narrow canyons within the city's ruined outskirts, they lured portions of Zitrax's fleet into traps. Mines, hidden energy nets, and improvised explosive devices disabled key ships, while human strike teams disabled critical systems. The aliens, technological superiority was nullified by human ingenuity and adaptability. Zitrax realized the humans were smarter than he had expected. They were unpredictable, and unpredictability was deadly in battle. He attempted to rally his forces with ferocity, but every move was countered by clever tactics and precision strikes. Alien warships were damaged or destroyed, and morale began to falter among Zitrax's troops. Alara knew that defeating the enemy's fleet entirely would require a direct confrontation with Zitrax himself. She prepared a specialized strike team, equipped with both advanced technology and unconventional human inventions. They moved swiftly, guided by her tactical brilliance, aiming for the flagship where Zitrax commanded. The flagship's arrival in the city signaled the climax of the battle. Zitrax descended with elite warriors, confident that eliminating Alara would end the human resistance. But humans had anticipated this. The streets, buildings, and hidden corridors were prepared for ambush. Automated turrets, collapsing walls, and human fighters struck from every side, forcing the alien warriors into confusion and retreat. Alara led her team through the chaos, her mind focused entirely on the objective. Every strike was precise, every decision critical. They moved with coordination, using their knowledge of the terrain, the city, and the alien technology to their advantage. Zitrax's forces were powerful, but they were rigid. Humans were flexible, adapting in real time, turning desperation into strategy. During the confrontation, Zitrax attempted to personally engage Alara, confident in his superiority. He underestimated her strength, her determination, and her tactical skill. Using a combination of agility, technology, and unpredictability, Alara outmaneuvered the alien warlord. She created openings for her team to strike, forcing Zitrax to retreat temporarily. The tide of battle had shifted. Humans were no longer merely surviving, they were winning. Civilians reinforced positions, repaired critical systems, and supported the soldiers in ways that no alien technology could match. Every act of human ingenuity, bravery, and cooperation amplified their strength. The aliens began to understand the terrible truth. Humans could endure impossible odds, and they would never surrender their future. Meanwhile, Kale and Leora watched the progress from their secure location. Though young, they understood the significance of each victory. Humanity's ingenuity, bravery, and determination were on display. They saw why their mother had risked everything to save them, and they understood that they were the living proof that the next generation could continue the fight. Alara's plan reached its final phase. Using coordinated signals, decoys, and hidden strike teams, she created an opportunity to attack Zitrax's flagship directly. The human fleet, small but precise, moved through narrow channels in the ruined city, striking at critical systems. The alien flagship, powerful but inflexible, could not respond effectively. Zitrax realized too late that the humans had turned every weakness into an advantage. Energy cannons exploded, engines failed, and key systems shut down. The elite alien warriors were overwhelmed, unable to adapt to the humans' unpredictable attacks. The flagship began to drift, disabled and vulnerable. Alara, standing at the forefront of the final strike team, watched as Zitrax's ship faltered. The alien warlord had underestimated human courage, ingenuity, and determination. With a final coordinated effort, the humans disabled the flagship's main weapons and communication systems. Zitrax was forced to retreat, his fleet in disarray. Humanity had survived, and the alien threat had been repelled for now. The city of Vyrlia bore the scars of battle, but its people were alive, resilient, and victorious. Civilians emerged to help each other. Soldiers rebuilt defenses, and engineers repaired critical systems. Humans had endured, and in doing so they had proven their strength to the galaxy. They had survived overwhelming odds, adapted to impossible challenges, and emerged victorious not through sheer power, but through courage, intelligence, and cooperation. Alara finally allowed herself a moment to breathe. Her children, safe among the stars, were the embodiment of humanity's future. The throne had been threatened, the city had been battered, but her choice had ensured something far greater: the survival of the next generation and the enduring spirit of humanity. She addressed her people through secure channels, her voice calm but filled with authority and pride. Today, humanity has shown its strength. We were underestimated, yet we survived. We fought not for power, not for thrones, but for life, for family, and for the future of our species. Let the galaxy remember this: humans endure, humans adapt, humans survive, and we will continue to thrive no matter the odds. Across Violia and the hidden colonies, humans listened and felt a renewed sense of purpose. Their resilience, courage, and ingenuity had not only protected lives, they had changed the perception of humanity in the galaxy. Where aliens once saw weaklings to be conquered, they now saw a force capable of outsmarting, outmaneuvering, and surviving even the most powerful enemies. Alara returned to the balcony of the palace as the sun rose over the city, casting light on the scars of battle. She thought of Kale and Leora, imagining their laughter and curiosity, and felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The throne was no longer a priority. Power was meaningless if the future of humanity was at risk. By saving her children, she had preserved something far more valuable: the enduring spirit of her people and the promise of tomorrow. Zitrax, retreating with his damaged fleet, realized that the humans were unlike any adversary he had faced. They had survived, adapted, and struck fear into the hearts of a force far stronger than themselves. His pride and arrogance had been shattered by a species he had dismissed. He would return, perhaps, but he would never again underestimate humanity. Alara's people began to rebuild the city, stronger and more united than before. Civilians and soldiers alike had learned the value of cooperation, courage, and resourcefulness. Every person understood that their survival depended not on power alone, but on ingenuity, resilience, and the determination to protect one another. The children, Kale and Leora, grew up in the hidden colonies, learning, training, and understanding the lessons their mother had taught them. They were not merely survivors, they were the living embodiment of humanity's potential. They carried with them the courage, intelligence, and moral strength that had saved their species and ensured its future. Alara watched over her people, her children safe and her spirit unbroken. She had faced impossible choices, risked everything, and emerged victorious, not through brute strength, but through wisdom, courage, and the unwavering determination to protect what mattered most. The throne could wait, the war could continue, but humanity, alive, resilient, and clever, would endure. And in that enduring spirit, the galaxy would learn a lesson it could not ignore. Humans were not weak, humans could not be controlled, and humans, when driven by courage, intelligence, and love for the future, were unstoppable. The battle for the throne had been a test, but the true victory was something far greater. Humanity's future had survived, carried in the hearts and minds of the next generation, protected by a mother's choice, and strengthened by the unyielding will of an entire species. As Violia began to rise from the ashes, Alara felt a quiet pride. The children were safe, the people had survived, and the human spirit had triumphed. That was the legacy that mattered. That was the power no alien could take away. Humanity would endure. Humanity would thrive. And through courage, ingenuity, and love, they would continue to shape their destiny across the stars. They wanted the throne. She chose to save her children instead.